All right. Okay, good. So basically we went through this whole entire problem. We got this answer at the end. We went through this whole entire problem and we got this answer at the end. So you guys were able to see that this was our final answer, 0.36 grams of chlorine. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do is we're gonna move on to another question, but same problem type. So I'm gonna keep this up here. In fact, you check your scissors. Miss V is here, by the way, guys, in case you didn't know. I'm not talking to myself. Okay. It's fine. All right. So we're moving on to problem, to letter D. Let's move on to letter D. So let's skip C and let's move on to letter D. How are you guys feeling? Is it a little bit better? Are you guys like understanding a little bit more now that we're doing the problems together?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
in the middle.
Good. That's important. All right. You won't understand it all right away. That's like 100% for sure. Okay? It'll take a while. It takes practice. This is difficult stuff. That's why I think we should try to take as much time to master it as possible. Okay. So same exact reaction. Okay. You guys see the same exact reaction is at the top, but now we're going to move on to a different question. We're moving on to question letter D. All right. So Chloe, why don't you go ahead and help me out in the beginning here? Tell me.
Are you 21Z or 21C?
21D, D as in dog. So we're skipping C. Tell me what we are starting with and what we want to finish with.
We start. Do we start with the 1.00 grams of Cl2?
Okay. Okay, and what are we finishing with?
And you're going to end with, we don't know how many grams of NaCl.
Exactly. Good. Grams of NaCl. So this looks very, very similar to the first problem we did, right? Yes. Except what is different about this one? It's basically flipped, right? In the first problem that we did, we started off with a certain amount of NaCl and we were trying to figure out how much Cl2. Now we're starting with the product and we're trying to figure out how much NaCl it took to get that product, okay? So basically like working backwards, okay? So like, what is that, deductive reasoning? Okay, so let's go through it, but guys, it's the same exact thing, okay? So we're gonna just make that bridge, right? We know we're going from grams of product to grams of reactant, so we have to make that jump, okay? 3 columns here, okay? And we start with 1 gram of Cl2. Over 1, okay? Now remember, we can't make that jump from grams. What do we need to convert Cl2 into now?
Moles.
Moles, okay? So we need to go 1 mole of Cl2 is gonna be, how many grams of Cl2?
70.9.
Exactly, okay? And we didn't need to do anything because the previous problem told us that already, okay? So 70.9 grams. We're gonna write that down here, 70.9 grams of Cl2, okay? Now, here we're gonna make that jump, right? With the mole to mole ratio. So let's see, who else is on this call? Pineda, why don't you tell me, what is the mole to mole ratio? How many moles, and remember, we wanna go to NaCl, so we put that at the top. How many moles of NaCl are there per moles of Cl2 according to the equation?
I don't even know. Like I'm pretty lost still. I've been trying to listen most of the time.
Yeah, that's fine. So go ahead and write this down. All right. Make sure that you're following along the questions, even if it's not this neat or whatever. Just make sure that you're trying to follow along. So basically, what I was saying is that we're starting with grams of chlorine, which is right here, right? and we're trying to get to grams of NaCl. So we're kind of doing a backwards reaction. Okay, we're going from here over here, but we're trying to figure out if we end up with 1 gram of chlorine, how many grams of NaCl did it take to get to 1 gram of chlorine? Okay, it's still the same exact type of problem. We're going from grams of reactant or product to grams of reactant or product, okay? Because we're going from grams to grams, we need to convert to moles first. Remember, you're always going back to moles, all right? So to make that jump, we call this the jump. When you go from reactants to products or products to reactants, that jump needs to be made with moles, okay? You can't make it with anything else. You have to make it with moles. So before we can go from grams of chlorine to grams of NaCl, we need to turn grams of chlorine into moles of chlorine. All right, and that's the first thing that we did. We figured out how many grams of chlorine there were in 1 mole of chlorine so that now we can cancel out grams of chlorine, and now we're actively in moles of chlorine, okay? Now, to be able to go from moles of chlorine to moles of sodium chloride, we need something called the mole-to-mole ratio. Now, the mole-to-mole ratio is super easy to find because it's written in your chemical reaction. Okay, and if your chemical reaction is balanced, right, then your mole-to-mole ratio is going to be exactly what you see here. So our mole-to-mole ratio from chlorine and sodium chloride is that there are 4 moles of sodium chloride per 1 mole of chlorine, okay? And all we do is look at the coefficients for that. Now, with that mole-to-mole ratio, we're able to make that jump from moles of chlorine into moles of sodium chloride, and we can cancel out the moles of chlorine, okay? Now, the next step, we know we want to get to grams of sodium chloride. So what we need to do now is figure out how many grams there are per mole of sodium chloride. So who can tell me the grams of sodium chloride?
Is it 58.44?
Yes. Exactly. Okay. Can you say that again, Chloe?
58.44.
58.44. And that's the correct one, right? Yes.
Yeah, that's the one we
Not
use.
the one that Matthew told us. All right, good.
Wow.
Okay, so let's go ahead and let's write that down. 58.44 grams of sodium chloride. I don't know why I wrote NaCl2 of sodium chloride. Okay, so if we look, we have gone from grams of chlorine to grams of sodium chloride, right? Because here's grams of chlorine and here's grams of sodium chloride. Let's cancel out everything. All right. Let's see, who else is on this call? Abby, why don't you help me out and dictate what we're gonna do in the calculator? Okay. How are we gonna write this out?
Did you say Maxer?
Sorry?
Who did you say?
Abby.
Abby.
Yes. So, Abby, tell me how we're gonna write this out in our calculator, kind of like what Matthew did in the previous problem for us. So, what do we start with?
I don't know. I think 70.9.
So we use 70.9 over here. So if you look, we kind of made a map of what we have to do. And if we set it up in this bridge notation, then that makes it like super easy for us because we're literally just a little person. Okay. And we're just walking across this bridge. Okay. So what's the first thing that we run across if we're the person?
1.00.
Yeah, exactly. 1.00. Okay. Now, the only thing you need to remember is that at every step in the bridge, if it's in the bottom, you're dividing. If it's in the top, you're multiplying. Okay. So what's the next thing that we have to do?
I don't know.
So if we're walking, the next number that we come across is this 1 up here, right?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Ones mean
Wait,
nothing. Yeah, tell
I
me.
thought we canceled that out. I'm so
Sorry?
confused. I thought we canceled that out.
Well, we canceled out the units. We don't cancel out the numbers. Okay.
Oh.
So whenever we cross something out, we are only crossing out the units. Okay. And that's so that we get at the end to the unit that we want. Okay.
Okay.
Got
okay.
it? But the numbers here, we have times 1, right?
Uh-huh.
But we don't have to do anything for that because anything times 1 is just going to be itself. But we are going to divide by 70.9.
Yes.
Okay, good. So we did this part now. Now we're in the next step of the bridge. What do we have to do now?
Divide 4. I mean, no. Wait. Multiply 4 with 58.44.
Okay, basically, yeah. Yeah, you did say it correctly. You multiply 4, okay, but let's take it one step at a time, right? Multiply 4 first, right? Just like I did right here in my calculator. And then multiply 58.44. And we want to do the whole thing together, okay, in the calculator. And then once we do that, this is the answer that I get. Did anyone else get a different answer? Thank you, Abby. Good job.
You're welcome.
No.
4. Okay, so that's what we got. What is the next step? The final step that we always have to do, guys.
Significant digit.
Significant digits. How many did we start with?
3.
3, right? We started with 3. Remember, we don't use these. Okay, we don't use those. 3 significant digits right there. That means we have to look right here. What does this tell us? 5 or more, we let it soar, right?
So
That
it
means
goes
we
up.
end up with 3 point. This here is going to go up to a 10, right? Which means that it's going to transfer over to here and make that a 3.30
Sure.
grams of NaCl. And that's your final answer. Okay, let me double check it. Yeah, grams of NaCl. Any questions? No?
No.
All right, good. It is 2 o'clock. Okay. Unfortunately, we do have to cut this off here. I'm gonna go ahead and upload this video to YouTube as well. Hopefully, you guys can help out your friends that need help. Tentatively, we're gonna make this test on Thursday. Okay. Is 3 days? Yeah, 3 days is enough. Okay. We're gonna do another Zoom session tomorrow at 1 p.m. again. Okay, I'll put it on our site, and we'll just keep working. Okay, we'll keep working. We're gonna have to do the same thing again, where we cut it off halfway and then log back on, just because I don't have the money for that.
So this homework is still due tomorrow?
The homework will still be due tomorrow. Okay, the homework will still be due tomorrow. I'll grant you guys an extension to the end of the day tomorrow. Okay.
Okay. Thank
No,
you.
Okay.
that's dumb. No, we'll just make it due on Thursday. Okay, I'll make another extension. Thank you guys who have already put it up, but I'll give you guys another extension. I'll just make it due on the day of the test. Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right.
But the first part was already due, right? The chapter review.
Mhm.
Yeah.
98
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay, that's done because that's the stuff before this. Okay, but the stoichiometry stuff, I'll make that due on Thursday. I want you guys to get it. Okay, please work hard. If you have any questions, let me know. Okay.
Alrighty.
Sure.
All right, guys, take care.